Assalamu alaikum. Uh, Astrid, can you please open your video? Uh, and Mr. Turgay as well. Assalamu alaikum. You welcome all on this important webinar regarding the remembering the victims of conflict on this 22nd when the 22nd Kashmiris were got martyrdom in 1991 on this day. So actually to organize, the purpose of to organize this seminar is to just get the international point of view. So for this webinar, we are joined by Astrid Nadya. She is president of OIC Indonesia, and she is board member of African Asian Youth Government. Welcome and assalamu alaikum, Nadya.
Walaikum salam, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for joining. And our other speaker is Mr. Evren Turgay. He is famous Turkish songwriter, author. Sir, thanks a lot for your sympathies and your work regarding Karabakh and Kashmir. So we welcome you on this webinar.
Yeah, thank you. It is my pleasure.
So in few minutes, Mrs. Mushaal Hussein Mullick, she is the wife of veteran Kashmiri leader Yasin Mullick, will join us in this webinar as well. So we will go to Miss Astrid Nadya, and I will ask her about what she think about this conflict. Not only this Kashmir conflict, there's other conflicts in this world, and how it is impacting on the lives of the common citizens, and being Muslim, and as well as being human. What can we do to just reduce and to just minimize the impact of this conflict? What kind of role youth can play in this regard? Miss Astrid Nadya.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bajwa. First of all, for the invitation, as well as organizing this important event, not only to commemorate, but also to raise awareness about the Kashmir Martyrs Day, which is actually something that is still going on until today in terms of the Jammu and Kashmir situation. Regarding your question, well, there are many layers to that. There are many aspects to that. We can also take it from the lens of, back then how the, Muslims were treated, because this incident in 13 July 1931, and also as stated by your Prime Minister, is something that needs to be raised awareness of, to be remembered, commemorated, because again, in terms of how this conflict has been going on for years, and which later on escalated post 1946, and the subsequent UN resolutions, which have yet to be implemented in terms of what the people of Jammu and Kashmir actually want and have the right to do. But looking into the incident in 13 July, and also how the Muslim world back then was treated. A few days ago, we also commemorated the incident in Bosnia, and there are many victims. Brother Mr. Bajwa also mentioned about Nagorno-Karabakh, that that Alhamdulillah, back in 2020, they got justice they deserve, but still, this is something that is still being uh, followed up, and many developments in terms of restoration, in terms of uh, how they can reconcile. Well, from our perspective, and me representing OIC of Indonesia, first of all, the OIC, we are concerned on issues in the OIC countries, including what's happening in Jammu and Kashmir, but also as youth of Indonesia, in which we are also guided by our law number 37 year 1999, in which uh, foreign relations are not only by the executive or the legislative, but also by non-state actors, including NGOs, private sectors, even down to each of ourselves as citizens of Indonesia. And thus we aim to give awareness on that. And also regarding our constitution, in which we are to take part in uh, and also uh, fight against any kind of colonialism, and aim for peace, aim to take part in peace. So this is something that we need to uh, give enlightenment about, and even in the current situation, with how the government of India has been treating the Muslim population. uh, well, they are they say they are a democratic country, and actually the number of Muslims in their country is not small. And also regarding the current affairs, or because both of Indonesia and India are part of G20. Actually, this year, initially they were supposed to host the G20, but because of Indonesia's chairmanship at ASEAN in 2023, we cannot have any double chairmanship. That's why we switch with India. And next year, actually at the end of at December, we will give or hand over the chairmanship, or pass the baton to India. But then, well, some news that they want to host the summit in Jammu and Kashmir. And this is actually not a bilateral issue only, because the UN has had resolutions on it, and the UN is involved. So this is an international issue, and this has been going on for years. And actually, if we let this keep on going with the current developments, especially with the Article 370 back in August 5th, uh, 2 years ago. So things are not going to the direction that we want, because we aim to have more uh, enlightenment and more efforts towards peace, not more division, because the incident in 13 July was due to that. So rather, actually, to conclude my answer, actually, any instability, any conflict in any region uh, is something that other countries need to uh, not only be aware of, because it's uh, as it's international issue, other countries are aware, but also take concern and give solidarity towards, because uh, it's an international issue, and any pain happening around the world is our pain, as we are one ummah.
No. Thanks a lot for your comments regarding the G20 summit because it's going to happen in Indian occupied Kashmir, and India want to project that everything is normalized in the Indian occupied Kashmir and Valley. Actually, they are trying to just dump this issue, but just saying that it's a bilateral issue between Pakistan and India. And after that, if this summit, G20 summit, which is a multilateral summit for the purpose of to just enhance the cooperation between different countries. They want to legitimize and say portray that the normalcy in the valley. So I think the youth of Muslim Muslim countries, and apart from the religion, a person which is working on human rights and which have the pain of humanity, they have to speak on this issue, on this especially particular in G20 summit. If you, because it will impact actually on the cause. This issue is on the UN agenda, and India brought this issue to the United Nations, and the Kashmiris are demanding their right to self-determination. And from that time, and 7 decades are gone, and they are just sacrificing their lives. More than 95,000 people just got martyrdom, and this day we are going to celebrate, and we are saluting for the resistance of Kashmiri people, which they gave to get the freedom. I just want to ask another question. What kind of role the youth, as you are the president of OIC Indonesia and board member of AAG, so what kind of role youth can play in this conflict? Youth are is the person, the persons are the, you can say, the group which can impact and which can ask their governments to do something. So what collective efforts can be done on the level of Muslim world, as well as the on the international level, so we can ask the world powers to do something on this issue?
Thank you, Mr. Bajwa, for the very timely question. Indeed, uh, regarding the youth in the Muslim world, we constitute 1/3 of the population, and this can actually be an asset, or something that is reverse if not um, utilized as it should. And I think I referred to the idea or the concept of a ladder of participation of youth, because we're talking about the role of youth. So that actually depends on the level or the readiness of the institutions within those countries involved, or the organizations that uh, take part in giving this awareness. So the lowest part of youth participation would be merely in which uh, decoration, in which the youth are invited, but they don't necessarily are aware of the actual objectives. I mean, they just informed that they need to take part in this event. You have to come. There's gonna be friends, and you can meet people, etc. So that's just decoration, but most of the outcomes, the background, organizing is done by the adults. And it is usually for newer organizations or newer institutions. The middle part is that the youth take part, uh, but the guidance or the role of adults is still more than the role of youth. And the highest role or level of participation of youth is in which adults and the youth can share ideas. But of course, the youth and the adults, they have a gap, not only age gap, because depends on the definition of youth. In Indonesia, it's 16 to 30, 35. In Pakistan, I think it's up to 40. So, and adults, it means they're more than those age. Other than the difference in the level of the age, but there's also difference in experience, in wisdom. So the youth needs to be guided. And regarding that, we need actually from initial stages, from the school system, the extracurricular activities, and the surrounding environment to be viable for youth to be aware and have the passion to do more problem solving, especially those concerning to current issues and humanity. uh, my second part of the answer is that, well, my definition or my understanding of the highest level of participation is that youth and adults cannot be the same, but at least we can have the same opportunity in to be in the same room. For example, in this forum, we are in the same webinar to discuss and convey our thoughts and perspectives. So this actually is one of the examples. Is that well, as this is a cross-country discussion, Alhamdulillah, through Zoom we can discuss, and this is the something that can be done by youth organizations to initiate, but perhaps the networking can be helped from the adults who to invite, uh, the angle of our perspective should be like this, and so that the outcome will be more tangible and also useful. uh, and also the third is that the role of youth in OIC countries uh, need to be more accommodated, so that these dialogues can be held in OIC. We have the affiliated organ concerning on youth, and that is ICYF. And there are other platforms as well, such as World Assembly of Muslim Youth. We have the Muslim World League, and perhaps they have the youth as well, and other platforms can be used. Uh, so perhaps we can give input to those organizations to conduct these discussions so that they can hear from the youth, and these youth will then be motivated to do more in society. Another important aspect, my fourth point, is that the level of participation, among these countries needs to be increased, because if we talk about politics, even in the average age of MPs, in average worldwide, it's still big. It means that most of them are already seniors. The youth, perhaps they don't have uh, not only much experience, they don't have as much experience, but perhaps also the resources. So this is something that we can try to push by firstly giving opportunity for youth to be informed, to speak up, and yeah, because if we talk about youth, it is something that is something in the long run, because they will be leading uh, in the future. So I think that's what I can answer.
Uh, Thanks a lot for this answer. Actually, youth can have a very important role because they are the whistleblowers. So they can ask and they can remind time to time the government to took some actions in this regard. Thanks a lot, Astrid, for your remarks. And our next speaker is Mr. Turgay Evren, a very famous Turkish poet, songwriter, and one other thing is that he is the guy who is showcasing the conflicts in the Muslim world. He writes songs about Jerusalem, Palestine, as well as he wrote songs about Nagorno Karabakh, and now he is writing songs about Kashmir. And first of all, sir, I want to thank you regarding your poetry on this particular issue. And now floor is yours. We want to uh, now how the people like you, which are actually they love music, you know that nowadays the very appropriate form of to conveying the message and creating the awareness regarding some particular issue is the poetry and the music. So how the like-minded people like you can play a role regarding the conflict resolution, sir?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, of course, you know, art can play really a very liberating role. And what we see when we focus on the issue of Kashmir and Palestine, I mean, almost the same time started. So Kashmir since I think 1947. So and it means there have been more than 7 decades. And when I came up with the song Kashmir is My Name, you know, it was interesting, but I didn't know that there was not one single international song about the issue of Kashmir until that time. So that was one reason Kashmir is My Name was, you know, kind of embraced so warmly globally, and it became, you know, a sudden hit because, you know, the people wanted to express and wanted to share this problem with the other people through a song. And of course there was also a psychological impact. So the youth living in Indian occupied Kashmir, so they also felt different. They thought that, I mean, they saw there is somebody living in a faraway country and that person cares about their own problem, and that person is an artist, and he has created a song dedicated to the suffering of Kashmir. So that's why the song also became the target of Indian media channels, and they wanted to remove the song Kashmir is My Name from YouTube. There has been actually a very intensive, you know, efforts organized by Indian media and Indian trolls, and they did their best, you know, just to remove that song from the social media and from YouTube. And really, we had a very big struggle. So that also shows that, you know, although art is a kind of soft power, but sometimes it could be more effective than weapons in terms of raising awareness and consciousness. And unfortunately, Muslim artists, you know, are not very good at organizing and using art, you know, for expressing our own problems and for letting the world hear about our own problems. So, I mean, you know, I have written songs not only Kashmir, I have written songs about Yemen. My first song was about Syrian refugee kids because, you know, Turkey has got a border with Syria. Actually, we've got the longest border with Syria, and now we are hosting maybe around 4 million Syrian refugees. So my first song came about Syrian refugee kids, and that also became a global success. And President Erdogan shared the song with world leaders visiting, you know, Turkey for an international summit as well. And then I wrote about Yemen because Yemen, see that in Yemen, Muslims unfortunately are suffering hunger, but on the other hand, Muslims are killing each other, and those Muslims are also being supported by some other Muslim countries, so they are also involved, you know, in the problem. And in the world, Yemen also shows our disunity. So we've got, unfortunately, we are in a struggle against each other. So the torturer and the murderer is not always a non-Muslim, because Muslims cannot settle their own problems. Sometimes, of course, some other countries, global power also get involved because they want to sell weapons and they want to make money on the blood of Muslims. And unfortunately, international organizations like OIC is also helpless and weak, and sometimes they cannot come together, you know, to make really a deep impact on all those issues. So there's some internal struggles within our own institutions. So we say we are brothers and sisters, but actually we cannot act as brothers and sisters. And another thing, you know, we are talking about the issue of Kashmir, and see that Türkiye, you know, now we started using Türkiye instead of Turkey. So that's why I'm using Türkiye. So Türkiye, you know, has got super relationship with Pakistan in governmental level. But now if I go to the street and if I ask 100 people I meet about Kashmir, I can tell you that maybe more than 90 people are going to say, like, what is Kashmir? What are you talking about? Because they have never heard about Kashmir, you know. And often, you know, I'm teaching cabin attendants. I'm teaching English in aviation sector, and when you think about like those cabin crew, they're kind of mobile, always they keep traveling to other countries. But I can tell you that in none of the countries, I mean, in none of the classes, you know, I have taught, when I asked about my own students about Kashmir, not one single student, not one single cabin attendant, you know, came up with the information where is Kashmir located, whether it is a country, whether it's a kind of fabric or scarf or carpet, you know, just they know something about Kashmir, and they know that it has, you know, something to do with maybe a kind of, I don't know, like wool or scarf or something like that, shawl maybe. So we should also question ourselves. So it means we made a very big mistake. See, we are talking about youth, and youth is such a big treasure. And youth, when they are guided, they can really change so many things. But in the Muslim countries, our youth do not know each other, right? So, I mean, we've got this problem because in Turkey, youth know much more about Western countries, but when it comes to, you know, Indonesia, when it comes to, you know, some other countries, we don't know because we don't have enough collaboration. And it's not only enough if the leaders come together or some organizations. When you think about artists, when you think about lecturers, universities, you know, companies, they are not working with each other, right? I mean, if you ask me, like, how many Indonesian artists do you know, or whether you ever collaborated with an Indonesian, you know, songwriter or singer, I mean, in my own field, I mean, just I couldn't say much about that topic. So that's why we need more collaboration. First of all, we need to know each other. If you don't know something, how can you defend, right? I mean, if you don't have information, if you don't have knowledge, how are you going to advocate that case? You know, so ignorance is our biggest enemy. And unfortunately, in the world where we live, you know, we say knowledge is power, but, you know, it also goes to might makes right. So there are some countries and they say we have got the power and we have got the right to do anything we want. So what India is doing, they are committing brutalities, right? I mean, every day we hear so many tragedies from Kashmir. Young people, some young people, I mean, they are not even militants, just they're going to university and then they are killed, they are murdered, and they said that they were killed, you know, in encounter, and we call them fake encounters. So we've got the stories of half widows, half orphans, so many sad stories coming from Kashmir, but even we are not aware of each other's pain. We don't know, you know, because normally we say we are one Muslim nation and we need to feel each other's pain, but even we don't know about each other's pain. So how can we feel? So that's why we need to increase more awareness. In the last 3 years, there are some good developments. More and more people started hearing about Kashmir. And I see that you know, Turkish media, for example, TRT World, or I sometimes see Iranian TV channel Press TV, or I see that, you know, Malaysian or Indonesian Muslims, they start, you know, arguing about the issue of Kashmir more often, and we hear at least some news. But on the other hand, India is trying to suppress all the voices and all the information. So they want to cut Kashmir from the world. And so that's why, you know, we get another problem, because India says now I am strong and I can do whatever I want, whereas there are some resolutions by United Nations, but they don't care about the UN. And normally India has also already accepted that, you know, Kashmiri people have got the right of self-determination, but here Kashmiri people are silenced, and we don't hear anything from our Kashmir brothers and sisters, because they don't know what's gonna happen to them tomorrow. I mean, almost all the leaders were put in the jail. Now, you know, practically they don't have even one leader outside who can defend their rights, and the situation is really very bad. And, you know, we need to do something urgently, not only as a Muslim, but as a human, because, you know, we say we are brothers and sisters with all mankind in terms of creation, because we come from the same God. We were created by the same God. And of course, we are brothers and sisters in faith. As a human, you know, we need to do something. As a Muslim, again, it is our responsibility to become their voice.
Sir, you said very truly. Actually, the purpose of our organization, Youth Forum for Kashmir, was one of them to just create awareness regarding this conflict. Uh, our motto is the Kashmir Lobby Group is to read, write, lobby for Kashmir. Uh, and you very rightly said that the collaboration is one thing that we can internationalize this issue, and we can just bring and we can learn about the Muslim world, each other, like Türkiye, like Indonesia, to know about the culture, know about the problems what they are facing right now. I'm just giving you an example of the collaboration. I and Mr. Esther Nadya, we met few years ago in Morocco during a OIC conference, and after that, we are talking about the problems, about the issues which the both countries we have right now, and we are doing collaborations. And one other thing is that now I am giving you another collaboration option. Mr. Tan Tofik Lobis, the president of OIC, sorry, the president of the Youth Council Indonesia. He's a very good musician. So you and OIC Youth Council, also Youth Council Indonesia, can collaborate on this topic, and we the Youth Forum for Kashmir can facilitate you regarding the research, regarding the data about this particular song, everything which is regarding this conflict. So we can provide you that, and you and Mr. Tan Tofik Lobes can create a very good song regarding Kashmir. And I think so, I hope that Miss Astrid will help us in this regard, on from the platform of OIC Indonesia. So I just wanna ask one thing. You visited Pakistan a few months back. What was your experience? How you found people here, and what's your expectation? What are your future plans regarding Kashmir?
Yeah, I mean, in December 2021, I was invited to Islamabad by you know, Kashmiri leader Altaf Baj, and I have stayed in Islamabad for 4 days. I mean, I came together with my wife, and we were really so impressed by the reception and welcome. So, I mean, just we felt at home. I mean, I can say, you know, I have been to more than 10 countries, but I have never seen such a level of affection and love, you know, towards us in any country we have visited. And like my wife was shocked, you know, I mean, she was not expecting that level of, you know, affection from people. So, and we saw that actually, you know, Pakistani people and Turkish people, they have got such a great love towards each other. We always say, you know, like sometimes we also include Azerbaijan and Pakistan, and we say 3 countries but 1 nation, because culturally we are so similar to each other. And what for Kashmir, actually I've got so far I have written 5 songs, and in Turkish, in English, in Arabic, in Urdu, in Kashmiri. So we have used all these languages, and now it's good that you also reminded Indonesian. So it was in our agenda. In the future, we also want to include Indonesian, because when you think about Indonesian, you know that Indonesia is, I think, you know, the Muslim country which has got the biggest Muslim population. And I also heard that Malaysia and Indonesia, their language is almost same. So there are some minor differences, so they can communicate to each other. So and I mean, I've got great hopes, you know, in Indonesia for the future as well. So I hope that inshallah it'll be a rising country. And in Turkey, we're also watching, you know, Indonesia closely, you know, for the future as well. When something happens, when we hear about any achievement in Turkey, we really feel very proud, as if, you know, we have done that achievement, whether it is in Pakistan or in Malaysia or Indonesia or in other Muslim countries. So, but in the near future, we have already completed the 6-song project, and this is about the people who are suffering in the jails. It is an English song, and actually the title of the song is The Jails of Kashmir, and we refer to Kashmiri leaders, you know, Meseret Alam, Asiya Andrabi, and then Yasin Malik, Shabir Shah. I mean, especially these 4 leaders are also mentioned with their names in the song. So we were planning to introduce this song in Türkiye with a big program. So the song is ready, but we think maybe we can also, you know, find a way to get President Erdogan involved, you know, because when he joins, so it becomes really global, it becomes international, and more people can hear about that. So that's why, you know, and maybe we can also get some other politicians from Europe as well. So now, you know, we are thinking about that kind of program. Otherwise, we've got a very powerful new song ready, but a song is like a bullet, and you should really you should think about you know, it's the time to shoot very carefully, because sometimes you're making a lot of efforts, but then, you know, something else happens, and, you know, your voice is suppressed. So you need to be very, very careful about timing as well. So inshallah, we're going to release any song. I don't know whether, you know, in a 3 weeks, or maybe, you know, it could be extended, because we want to also arrange a good program. And I hope in the future, again, I'd like to visit you know, Pakistan, because last time when I came, I didn't have the chance to go to Azad Kashmir. So I just stayed in Istanbul because there were a lot of programs. But my initial, you know, intention was actually to go to Azad Kashmir. So inshallah, in the future, I get that chance.
Inshallah, we will host you here once again here in Pakistan in near future, and we will be your host to go and visit the whole Kashmir. and you can draw a comparison between the situation of the both sides of the Kashmir. That the people from on Pakistan side, Pakistan administrated Kashmir, are living a happy life. They are free to roam everywhere. You can see the greenery, you can see the happiness on the faces of the people living in Pakistan side Kashmir. And when you will see from the fence, other side of the Indian occupied Kashmir, you will see that the miseries of the people, suffering of the people, and how the people are just caged in an open valley. And the only they are demanding their right to self-determination, and they are facing every kind of the worst situation during this time. And you are seeing that the whole India is actually right now changing the demography of Kashmir after the 5 August situation. So inshallah we will invite you regarding that. Sir, your last message regarding this day, a message you want to convey the people of Kashmir on this particular day on Martyrs Day, your message.
You mean my message or Sister Astrid message? I mean, first, do you want me to talk or?
Say your message.
Okay, okay. Say, I mean, today is the Kashmir Martyrs Day. And how many martyrs Kashmir has given? You know, the numbers change, but, you know, I heard that they say in Indian occupied Kashmir, almost in every household, there is one martyr. So almost every family has suffered from this conflict. So now, when you think about Indian occupied Kashmir, it is the militarily most, I think, dense, you know, geography, because you know there are almost 1 million soldiers, and they say maybe for every 8 people or 9 people, you know, there is kind of one soldier, you know. But on the other hand, one thing India failed to suppress is the desire for freedom in Kashmir. I'm still in touch with thousands of young people, and what I can say, you know, sometimes when I release a song, there are some young people in Indian occupied Kashmir, and I say, please, you know, don't like or don't share, because, you know, it could be dangerous for you, and you can end up in the jail, because they're also being, you know, monitored closely by the Indian intelligence, Indian army. And despite that, I see that like many young people, they're kind of crazy, and they say, no problem, you know, I'm going to share it. And they're so brave, you know, those young people are so brave. And in terms of education, you know, they're really, you know, well educated, and I believe that they can contribute to their own nation in a good way. And I also don't understand, you know, India is also suffering from this problem, because when you do not come out with a peaceful solution, there is no way for India to progress and to get prosperity and stability in the long run. So normally, wisdom says, you know, for India also should sit at the table, and they should try to solve this problem through dialogue and giving priority to the Kashmiri people, you know, to determine their own fate. I mean, whatever they choose. So they should be given that right. And for martyrs, well, I can say, you know, in Islam, we already believe that martyrs never die. Martyrs always live, and their legacy also persists. I mean, now, like Burhan Wani became a legend, right? So even I started using his photo in my clips. So you cannot keep Kashmir, you know, by murdering the people, by raping the women, by committing brutalities. So sooner or later, Kashmir is going to be free, and there is no way, you know, even if you are a superpower, there is no way that you can keep those people hostage. Those people kind of, because now Kashmir is like an open prison. But there is no way that you can continue to do that forever. So I believe that Kashmir is going to be free. But what we need to do, for us, the biggest problem for us is to be estranged from our own culture, whether in Turkey or in Indonesia or in Arabic countries or in Pakistan. The biggest trap is to turn a stranger with your own identity. So that's why youth is really important. Youth matters. I also hear from Kashmir brothers, they say, in Indian occupied Kashmir, they are trying to separate drug addiction and some other, addictions to just to keep, the youth alienated, estranged from their own identity and from their own values. So, the same thing, so we need to be very vigilant, because once we have lost the youth, even if we have got geographies, we've got, lands, we've got flag or the other things, they wouldn't mean anything. So for us, youth is the biggest treasure, and we need to do our best to inculcate our values in our own youth. Otherwise, we're going to lose everything we have. So it's not important to construct beautiful buildings or to do that, but it is important, to keep the youth aware of their own culture and their own values. So that's the most important thing. And at this point, organizations like, your organization, are doing really a very important job.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Turgay. We are joined by Mrs. Mushaal Hussein Mullick, Chairperson, Peace and Culture Organization. Welcome you, ma'am. Mushaal, can you hear me?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum. And yes, assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, Youth Forum for Kashmir, for organizing this webinar, especially to Mr. Zaman Bajwa and to the respectable speakers. A great fan of Turgay Evren, his beautiful lyrics, his vocal voice, and his contributions to the cause, and to Miss Astrid, Nadya, Rizqita, and I'm privileged to be part of this panel, and to all the listeners. Thank you.
Michelle, actually, we were talking about the Martyrs Day, about the sacrifices of Kashmir. So, Mr. Turgay and Astrid briefed us about the situation being international viewers, how international citizens and the members of the Muslim countries think about this conflict. So, you are the direct victim of this conflict. And as you all people know that your husband is behind the bars just because he is asking about the right to self-determination, he is demanding about the plebiscite. So what's your message on this Martyrs Day, and what you wanna tell us about this Martyrs Day and the situation right now in Indian occupied Kashmir?
Yes, thank you very much. I was listening to the previous speakers, and of course, we are directly victimized by the Indian state authorities, because we are leading one of the biggest peaceful resistance movement in the world, which happens to be the oldest pending conflict in the UN agenda. But unfortunately, the Kashmiri people, for them, it's a pipe dream to attain the right to freedom, which is the birthright of any human being, any person born in this world. This is the first and fundamental, foremost right granted, and according to the Universal Human Rights Charter also. This is a promised right, but somehow or the other, we are not considered applicable, or that important, or that visible to the world, to be acknowledged for our struggles, because we do see condemnations coming globally. for us. We see a lot of people coming out on the roads globally in various countries and showing their resentment, but practical steps have yet not been taken, especially after the 5th of August genocide, death warrant being launched in 2019, announcing that every Kashmiri is now stateless and without an identity, and this is just a land with the Indian occupation, and now the Indian public has to come and has to, just settle there and build. They were just waiting for the housing colonies to be built there and being granted state subjects and ownership rights, watershed rights, and being given all the economic rights and being snatched away from the Kashmiri people. So we saw uproar around the world, but somehow after a few months, the tragedy struck the world and we faced COVID. So all the global focus shifted from this genocidal act of India towards combating COVID. And then now, when slowly and gradually the world is coming out of that, and this is the time, because we've seen recently, because I'm sure Zaman Bajwa has also discussed 13th of July 1931, which was a benchmark, which was a hallmark for all Kashmiris, because it was a turning point for them. When we look at our various massacres and various historical moments of sacrifices, that sacrifice of 13th of July 1931 is pivotal, and it's a hallmark that we look up to. That imagine, I'm like outside Central Jail. I visited Central Jail many times in Srinagar, and whenever that gate is open, whenever I would go in to meet my husband, who would be incarcerated there in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, it would the haunting memories of that incident, how 22 Kashmiri Muslims, one after the other, faced the bullet of the Dogra forces, but did not stop the azan. I mean, this is like, the height of love for our faith and conviction in the faith, and also telling the world that, how Kashmiris are, worse than cattle also, and how they're being butchered just for one azan to be completed. 22 Kashmiri Muslims laid down their lives. And right now, what do we see? We see a replica of the Dogra forces. Now, this is the modern times. We have sophisticated weapons. If we don't have swords or shooter guns, we have way more than that. Pistols. We see power shells. We see those chemical weapons being used, phosphorus shells being used. We see pellets. We see mosques, locked, and they have demarcated 500 mosques in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir that they're demolishing, and they have announced construction of mandirs over there. So history is repeating in spirals, one after the other, and it's a non-ending spiral, and it has a domino effect at whatever India has picked or learned from various aggressors around the world, be it the Jewish settlements at the West Bank, or other occupiers around the world, even the Dogra forces. They're learning quite a bit, and now we see that we are all stateless. But what horrifies me is that they can go to any extent and make every Kashmiri extinct. I'm sitting here, I don't know what will happen with me or all those Kashmiri activists. We are seeing an invisible curfew globally on Kashmiri activists, on Kashmiri families that come out on the roads. You see that Palestinians around the world are very active. But when you see Kashmiris from that occupation under India, if some of their families are abroad, they want to work for their motherland, when they come out conversing, campaigning, the Indian, the agencies are so active in their joint operations that they complain and then they threaten them. I recently in Australia also, it was shocking to see that, the Indians wanted to launch this propagandistic movie called Kashmir Files there. Very active response came from the Pakistani, from the Muslim community there, from the Kashmiris. But a lot of Kashmiris from occupied Kashmir had to wear masks. Can you imagine, to cover their whole faces and their identities, because not that they're scared, but they were sent messages that they will eliminate your families in occupied Kashmir if you dare come out of your homes. Though they are nationals of other countries right now, but their relatives, direct relatives live there. So this form of harassment all over the world happening with Kashmiris, especially from the occupied side, it's frightening. It's shocking that how do we combat this? But luckily, because I'm talking to international speakers right now, there's a suggestion from my side that, recently spokesperson of BJP, Nupur Sharma, she, passed some highly derogatory language against our Prophet, peace be upon him. And it was glorified in the RSS, the BJP, and then again, another BJP leader was, using such shameful language. But we saw a powerful response coming from the Muslim Ummah, the public. I'm not talking about the rulers right now. First, it came from the public. They started throwing Indian products in various malls, especially in the Arab world. And that uproar was rising amongst the anger amongst the public. That made such a strong impact that the rulers had to issue a very strong condemnations and threaten them of trade boycott. And because of the power of the public. This is an ideal example because the Indian Supreme Court, which has never ever given any favor to any Kashmiri, especially to a Kashmiri Muslim or to Muslims at large, or to maybe to some minorities, but on the whole, it's very anti-Muslim, the history of the justice system in India. But we surprisingly, because of that uproar around the world amongst the Muslims, the anger and the threat of trade boycott with them, the Indian Supreme Court ordered Nupur Sharma to apologize unconditionally against hurting the sentiments and creating a civil war kind of situation within India. The world, the Muslim Ummah managed to do this without even bringing any tanks, without even bringing any armies, without any attack, without spending any money, I would say, just by a mere threat and a public uproar. We saw that India was on its knees and it's in a surrendering position. So if they at all, we succeed in campaigning that, we are also Muslims, the Kashmiri Muslims, though we are leading a freedom struggle, not on the basis of being Muslims, but this is our right according to UN resolutions, and nor have we ever targeted any minorities, nor, and there's a complete harmony, but it's a majority Muslim struggle of Kashmiri Muslims. So what is India doing with them? How is it, tarnishing their struggle, their basic fundamental rights to political freedom, political liberty, to media right, right to communication, and right to religious freedom? And if we kind of campaign around the Muslim Ummah, the public especially, and Zaman has been quite vocal about this, that whenever we should target and universities around the world, the youth, tell them, give them a message that what India is doing is genocidal, the worst crime in the world. I'm sure, even if it's non-Muslims or Muslims, but right now this current thing, really put India at the back foot and a surrendering position. So why can't we work in such a mechanism or plan in such a way that what it's doing with Kashmiri Muslims and demolishing mosques there, hurting the religious sentiments and treating us worse than cattle, eliminating our leadership, and it's a nuclear flashpoint with 3 nuclear countries now, say India, Pakistan, and China, and India is hell-bent upon starting any war stunt which can impact globally, not just the Muslim Ummah. So I would need help from the Muslim Ummah, from your circles and from your the people in your social walks, to come forward and to, if you need any help in sharing pamphlets or informations, some short documentaries, because this can play a major, major role. And if we see a similar reaction to the one they had before in the case of Nupur Sharma, I'm sure within days the Indian Supreme Court can reverse Article 370 and 35A. At least, in our lifetime, we can achieve some benchmarks. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Mushaal Hussain Mullick, regarding a brief introduction of this day and the happening right now in Indian occupied Kashmir. So actually the purpose to celebrate and to organize this webinar is to just pay a tribute to our martyrs who are basically the victims of this conflict, and also give them a message of the curve, the people of Kashmir which are facing the conflict right now. We're going towards the end of this webinar. Miss Astrid, Nadya, can you give a single message regarding this day?
Thank you, Mr. Bajwa, for the opportunity, and thank you again to all the speakers. My respect to my seniors, Mr. Turgay Evren, Mrs. Michelle Hussein Mullick, for the wonderful and very insightful and passionate intervention with regards to this day of commemoration. And as youth of Indonesia, representing OIC Youth Indonesia and the Asian African Youth Government, we not only aim to spread awareness, but also try to trigger and catalyze the youth to take action and advocate effectively. And this day is not only for commemoration of the past incident, but also this day is to remind us about the ongoing situation, and we hope that the rights of the Kashmiri people will be fulfilled as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Actually, right now our panel is very diverse, and they are linked with each another. Mrs. Mushaal Hussain Mullick is actually chairperson of the Peace and Culture Organization, which is promoting Kashmir cause through culture and peace. And Mr. Turgay, he is a songwriter and he is a musician. And Miss Astrid is heading two major organization in Indonesia. So if we are working on the youth advocacy and research regarding the Kashmir conflict, and if we guys can go towards the collaboration, we can bring a lot of impact on this conflict. So this is an opportunity to collaborate and to think once again what we can do together, and as well as to pay tribute to the people which got martyrdom due to this conflict, and give a message of hope to the people who are living in under the Indian oppression. Thanks a lot, Sir Turgay, Ms. Mushaal Hussain Mullick, and Astrid, for your time and insightful views. Thanks a lot. Hopefully, inshallah, we will do something in collaboration next time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting.
Thank you.